Good morning, everyone. I'm that dude over there, and you'll barely find anyone who hasn't at least heard of Undertale. The cute RPG where no one has to die, created by Toby Fox, which introduced the Smash icon, sans Undertale. The music is phenomenal, the story is great, and above all else, the characters are iconic. I would play Undertale on the channel if given the chance. However, Undertale is a game best experienced blind, so whatever I could have done with that footage wouldn't have meant much in the long run. But you know what came out fairly recently? Undertale Yellow, a fan project inspired by Undertale that follows the sixth human soul, Clover, and their adventures in the underground. With the praise it was getting online, I figure I'd give it a shot and see what all the hoopla was about regarding the game. Was it overhyped, or is it better than expected? Let's dive right in. So starting out, the game feels pretty close to Undertale in the beginning, with the exception of a missing poster in our inventory. The human souls in Undertale all have their own theme to them. Patience, kindness, determination. But the yellow soul is associated with justice, and this poster does not give us the most hope for a pacifist route. You know, seeking justice for the ones who have fallen. I like this as it gives a bit of a contrast to our protagonist from before. We encounter a Frogget instead of Flowey, and we're met with Toriel in an interesting new outfit. While it is a unique take on the design, I'm not a big fan. Toriel provides us with a tutorial. An introduction, before we are promptly dropped into an unexplored region of the ruins. And before we get much further, I love how this game expands on the underground. In vanilla Undertale, the underground more or less feels like a glorified hallway. But in Yellow, they expand the underground and make it feel like a much bigger place. I love it. Anyway, we meet a nice Flowey and encounter some new monsters in the game. And I instantly show my poor bullet dodging skills and poor puzzle solving by taking forever to solve puzzles and take a bunch of damage on early enemies. It was my first time playing Undertale on keyboard, and it really shows. I'm so used to using S or D for selecting and deselecting that Z, X, and C really bothered me. We eventually get to the end of the new ruins and come across this cloaked guy named Delve. He speaks in cryptic messaging before his confrontation, which interested me at first, but it's only while viewing the footage do I really appreciate the character more. We battle Delve, and I have to say I think his attacks don't match his appearance. His attacks are some kind of electric plasma-like attack, but I don't think they suit the design or complement the vampy boy. I was thinking of some kind of attack that played with the vampire aesthetic, or with the information after the fight with music, but the electricity I just don't really get. We offer a handshake of pacifism, and Delve leads us outside the ruins and into the expanded forest of Snowdin. I love the expanded Snowdin. It feels like it expands in the original Snowdin in such a great way. However, that being said, we meet our next antagonist for the region, and that's Marley. I don't know what it is about her. The design, the bangs, her personality, but something about it just doesn't click with me. We meet some great characters like Mo, the knockoff Cuphead relatives, this poor boy who got his tongue stuck, all before we actually fight Marley. And my suckitude really starts to show its head around here. I sucked hard at defending against the Royal Guard's new recruit, and it didn't help that I failed to stock up on items. Yeah, I was avoiding encounters all of Snowdin, and because of that, I only had like 3 items for the Marley fight. I could have tried fighting Marley, but despite my feelings on the character, I didn't want to kill her. She doesn't seem bad, and I wanted to go on the pacifist route, just to see how it played out. So after calling her a failure to the Royal Guard, an abomination to the human and monster kind, and an absolute moron for believing that I had no intentions of doing anything bad, we somehow spare her and plan our route to Asgore. However, we don't leave until after we do the Christmas Story side quest, for an item that will help us a lot later. We trust Marley to let us on our little raft to Hotland. So, Clover, do you want to take a survey to rate our services? No. Alrighty then, bye! So Marley's poorly built raft crashes and we end up in the lost desert that lies above New York. And this desert is mid. The enemies are fine with the difficulty beginning to scale a bit more, and the sandstorm, while cool in theory, is more annoying in execution. We encounter Mo again for some healing tea before we arrive at the famous mines that lie in the hidden desert above New York. I honestly thought this part was pretty easy, though a bit inconvenient. And as we reach the top, we encounter probably the hardest boss for the run so far, El Bailador. Now I thought I was okay at rhythm games before the battle. Like, I wasn't great or anything, I'm not playing FNF on expert mode, but I was at least decent. But in reality, this battle proves how dog shit I am at rhythm games. It doesn't help that I didn't like El Bailador for forcing his ways of dance on me, so I enact in my self-defense dress and fight El Bailador with the intention of not killing him. And this took me roughly an hour to beat. And while I could have enabled auto rhythm to help me in the fight, I didn't. Enabling auto rhythm would have been a great shame for me that I would never feel proud about. Also, I would never hear the end of it from you all. So beating him at his own game was the only way I could move forward. I didn't kill him, but man was I so glad when he finally left after taking a hint. We buy some new glass ammo and try to move on, but oh god damn it! Why did Marley have to come back? I am a small, independent child who needs no guide through the underground. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a brief break to play Mew Mew Love Blaster. This game is rigged! Getting back on track, we arrive at the old spaghetti western looking town and are confronted by the most non-cowboy looking cowboy troop of them all. But their leader looks damn intimidating. Alright, this guy may actually pose a threat. I'm captured by them immediately. So, what's the first thing that happens? We sit at a bar and answer Surface World trivia. This is the best day of my life! Among the crowd, the only other interesting character to know is this kimono-wearing monster who I confused for some kind of goat at first. Among the cast, these two have to be my favorite so far. Starlo has a really good design, and while I thought he was intimidating at first, he's just a lovable goofball. And Soroba seems so chill and relaxed that I'm interested to see where she goes in the future. Oh, and with my financial problems being at its worst here, I decide that gambling is my only way forward, along with finally being able to sell stuff. Finally, with an inventory full of goodies, I decide now is the time to start hanging out with Starlo. And while his games to build me up as a sheriff are nice on the surface, I feel a bit bad for the Feisty Five who have to get roped into Starlo's schemes. Well, they get their revenge on me as a way of real training, and to say I didn't die at least once would be a lie. Unlike El Bailador, I don't consider peaceful retaliation because I actually feel for them here, even if they are kicking my ass. I even like how the quartet work together for the fight, eventually teaming up to beat me into the dirt. This is true friendship. This all leads to Starlo breaking up the fight and breaking up the band due to the image issues. So it's up to us to reason with Starlo in a pretty impressive fight, might I add. It would have been a lot better if I hadn't used all my items in the last fight and failed to plan properly for this one. I like the gimmick for his first phase as we're strapped to the center of the field and have to avoid Star's attacks. However, once we're free, everything gets 10 times harder, and not in an unfair way. More like a Cuphead kind of way, where now that you're free, you have a lot more to do. And the way the fight ends, not with you doing something but Soroba, is nice in a touching way. Though I will say, Star looks a lot better with his hat on. With this section complete, we progress through Steamworks, and our new traveling companion Soroba. And while I love the fact that she'll help me eat a hit, I hate that she's always looking out for me like, well, a child. Seriously, stop breathing down my back for 5 minutes, Mom! We meet our new antagonist for the region, and it's this silly little guy named Axis. He wants to kill both of us. Oh, just how cute. Anyway, he captures us and Soroba comes up with a plan to build a robot. My plan was to use the door, but Axis shoved me back in the room and locked it. We create a robot of my design that looks vaguely like an Undertale character. I call them Giggles. We escape through the vent and look around Steamworks for a bit, before getting chased around again by Axis. At a dead end, we present Giggles to Axis, hoping to buy some time, but like the Giga Chad that Axis is, they reject Giggles for the sake of the mission. Saroba manages to de-escalate the tension by reflecting a projectile by Axis. You couldn't do this before when I was getting chased? Regardless, we get some free time to grind for goods, and while this is going on, we see an image of Saroba's child. Aww, she's so cute. I wonder why she's being brought up now. But we can't worry about that because we enter the most beautiful part of the game so far. This area is known as the greenhouse, and the colors combined with the flora overtaking the machines makes this area just a beautiful sight to see. It also holds another difficult boss fight, with its gardener robot named Gardener. However, unlike El Bailador, it took me 15 minutes to beat, due to me not having to dance to a rhythm. After this, we get some more lore to the creator of Axis, and the husband of Saroba, Chujin. And he seems like a pretty stand-up guy. Wonder why he's being brought up now. But I can't wonder for too long because the real toughest boss of the area appears. We finally engage in a fight against Axis, and this fight makes me want to krill myself. The idea of the fight is that we have to endure long enough against Axis for his power to drain. We have to use his attacks against him with the trash can lid to do so. But his attack patterns and use of orange and blue attacks make this fight just a pain to fight through, taking another 30 minutes of my life to detain. Once Axis is no longer a threat, he decides to go out with Giggles in his free time. Probably one of the best love stories of our time, if I'm gonna be honest. As we prepare to leave Steamworks for good, all hell breaks loose. Starlo comes back with news about Saroba's change in attack plan, not bringing us to Asgore, but to the lab. Saroba dips without explaining anything, so it's up to the Scooby Gang to investigate. I tried calling them, but they said they couldn't make the commute. So instead, it's up to me and Marley to figure it out instead. Great. Well, I mean, what's the worst we can find? An empty kid's room? Whatever. A sweet picture of a loving family? Super adorable. Videotapes of a man breaking down performing self-experiments wanting his wife and child to live a happy life? That's completely normal. But on a more serious note, why does he look like Shinji's dad? From these tapes, we gather that Chujin had his life fall apart and wanted to find a way out of the underground. He failed, he died, and left a mother and a child to grieve his loss. Now it's up to me and Marley to stop Saroba from doing something stupid. Honestly, I love this more than the Alfie section in Undertale, and it doesn't help that I like Saroba way more than I like Alfie's. There's just something more personal with all of this that I feel like it's better than the True Lab. Or maybe it's I just don't like Alfie's and I'm making the True Lab worse off because of her compared to Saroba. Either way, we stack on healing items, not buying the Deltarune patch because I'm poor, and track down Saroba underneath the cherry blossom looking tree. This brings us to the pacifist finale. We battle Saroba as she tries to steal our soul for the sake of her child, Kaneko. We learn through the battle that Kaneko wanted to save the underground by using her dad's work. However, during the experiment, Kaneko wasn't strong enough and fell as a result. Saroba blames herself for this and wants to save her anyway, that she can. At least, that's how I remember it going. I wasn't completely listening because my experience was a little more like, "Oh God, Mom, no, please! I promise I won't look around in the secret basement ever again. What indeterminate nation's name is that, mother, please?" But after a long battle, we are left with the penultimate choice of either killing or sparing the broken mother of a broken home. And if it wasn't clear already, I chose to spare her. Undertale Yellow is a really fun experience, and it's a worthy successor to Undertale. Even if the game is technically a fan game, I like how the game doesn't fall into the trap of over-relying on the previous game in order to create this game. It feels like its own game and it carries the spirit of Undertale, and as a result, it created something that is just a fun experience. But that's my take, and if you think that Marley is actually the best character in Undertale Yellow, let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe as it helps idiots like me who suck at promoting videos. But until next time, Stay safe out there.